Alright, so today we're working on a 2000 Chevy Montecarlo. We're replacing the radiator. There's a couple things you're going to need to know. As far as sockets and stuff like that you're going to need, it's very minimal. I thought it was going to take a lot more, but it really isn't. It is somewhat time intensive, but other than that, the difficulty level on this isn't too bad. You do have to mess with the radiator fan a little to get it out, but other than that, it's pretty simple. So what I'm going to show you is the new radiator, the fans. I've already taken this out. I was going to do a video of me taking it out. I needed both hands. I don't have anything to hold this camera, so I'm just going to go ahead and show you guys. This is the new radiator. The other one has a crack along here. I'm not sure why it broke. I'm just assuming age and just it's plastic. The car's 2016 years old. More than likely it was going to break eventually. But on this, what you're going to have to switch out, let me see if I can see these little fittings here. And you got one right here, and also this sensor. Now that sensor, I'm assuming it's just a coolant level sensor, just to tell you, hey, you're low on coolant. You are gonna have to switch out those fittings. They are flared fittings, so you shouldn't need Teflon tape or anything. I would suggest putting some on. I did. I don't like to risk it. There's no point in doing all this work, to get to that point, and then all of a sudden, boom, it fails because you didn't use, a dollar roll of Teflon tape and probably like a penny's worth of it on each fitting. For that one, I believe, give me a second, 3/4 inch deep socket. Now, these fittings on these Chevys, some of the newer ones and some of the older ones about this year, use these clips. Those fittings that we changed out right there are for quick disconnect lines. And you don't need to have a quick disconnect tool at all for this. A pick or a safety pin, actually. That's what I use there. Just to get underneath of this little clip here and just pull it out. The lines, you got to jiggle them a little, but they come right out. Let me also show you this here. Alright, we have to remove the battery. Battery is in the way of removing the fan. You also have to remove your forward center supports right here. Just take those off and put those to the side. You don't have to take them completely out. And I believe those are going to be 13 millimeter. So the fittings themselves are standard. They're not metric, but the rest of the bolts are pretty much just metric. You're also going to need a 10 millimeter and an 8 millimeter for the battery. Let's see here. Am I forgetting anything? You're going to have to remove also your forward mounting brackets. These are your two front engine mounts. And all those do is just keep it from rolling forward. So you remove just the two mounts from here. It's just 3 bolts. You got one in the front here. And then you got 2 up here, and then another 2 and 1 down here. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. With this, it's only just the 2 lines. Let me show you this here. Okay, so this is your radiator fan assembly. There's 3 clips that hold on a line to this. Well, the power lines for the fan. Let me see. Okay, on this one, you got the 2 clips here, just to unplug them. You have the 3 clips here. All you need is, you can use your fingers. I just used my thumbnails and popped loose these clips here. All they are is to hold the wire out of the way so it doesn't get caught up in anything. And that took a little finagling to get out. It really did. You just gotta kind of lift up on the driver's side a little to get it popped up and out of place. Take your time with it. You do not want to break this fan. It costs way more than the damn radiator to replace. As far as the radiator goes, okay, this is just from my personal experience with this one here, with this Montecarlo this year. And keep in mind that a lot of Chevys around this year use the same engine and essentially the same engine bay setup, like the platform for this, because this is a 3.4 V6. They're a dime a dozen motor. They were used in everything, from Pontiac to Oldsmobile, Monte Carlo. They were used in S10 Blazers, S10 pickups. They all over the board. It's a good platform. It's essentially a small block. Just cut the other two cylinders off, and boom, you got a 3.4. Now with this one, I went ahead and left the radiator hoses on them. If you notice that it has the squeeze clamps on it, those are a pain in the ass to get off if you don't have the OEM tool. Mechanics out there who know about this tool, all it is essentially a bike line that goes into a little clamp that looks about yay long. And what it is it has a little handle at the end of it, and you take that line and you put it down and you set it on there and you pull the line tight. You set a little lock on it and you squeeze it together, and it brings down the two sides. It's like a pair of pliers, but without the same amount of force and the hassle that you would get. Now, it is really good on these to use those. It helps a lot, but when you don't have it, you don't have it. So what I did was I went ahead and removed the lower radiator hose from the engine, and I'll show you here. Okay, let's see if you guys can see this here. This here, I went ahead and removed the upper radiator hose here and the other radiator hose that goes back here. I'm gonna clean all that off, but that's essentially what you have to remove. Now just take off those two clamps, kind of just put the radiator hoses out of the way. You can use pretty much anything to tie them up. When you do this, you're better off replacing both radiator hoses at the exact same time. It's just you're gonna run into a point where one of them is gonna fail, and if your radiator's already failed, and if it's due to heat, there's a chance that the rubber lines themselves have been damaged. So I would just suggest, you're gonna spend a couple $100 to do this, you might as well get this done like the right way. It's just preventative maintenance. It's one less thing you have to worry about later. Now, with the new radiator that came in, it doesn't have any of the sensors, any of the plugs, anything like that. It's just the radiator. Always make sure to check it. I got one in earlier. I should have took a picture of it, but it didn't. Comes in a box like that. I had ordered it from automotive parts store. I don't want to talk crap about them because they helped me out. But the radiator was bent. And I mean twisted bad. And all I can say is that it's probably from shipping. Sometimes these places, guys are in a hurry. They're just chucking boxes. Boxes get crushed. They get sat on or get stuff piled on them, and they shouldn't. And it's not necessarily the manufacturer's fault for that, or the parts stores, because a lot of times it's just warehouses. So just look at the part before you pay for it. You save yourself a lot of time and headache with that. Now, as far as putting this back together, this is probably going to run you about an hour and a half to 2 hours if you've never done anything like this. I could have probably had it done in an hour, but it's hot as hell right now. It's like 90-some degrees, and it's humid. So, yeah, it's been a long day. If you have any questions or comments on this, go ahead and drop me a line. Like I said, this is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Oh, one more thing, actually. Right here on the inside of this, that hole right there, okay? There are, yep, right there. Actually, sorry, wrong hole. Anywho, that hole right there, that's gonna be 2 of them, one on each side over there. And what that's for, there's little brackets for the radiator. and they're just support brackets to hold it in place. 2 10mm bolts. And those are just some of the things that you have. Well, that's pretty much everything that you have to do to get this taken care of. So as far as this goes, I should be done with this here pretty soon. Sorry about that. And just take your time. Remember to always bleed your system. And on Chevys, this is a little specific, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have pointed this out before. On 3.4 Chevys, there's 2 bleeder valves for the cooling system. Now, the thing about cooling systems is that they have to have the air evacuated from them. If you don't, you get air pockets in the system, and it can actually stop the water from circulating, overheating your engine. I've run into this plenty of times where people will call me, oh, my car's overheating, you know, all of a sudden it went from cold to red line, and I don't know why. And a lot of times it's because there's no water in a certain portion of the system, and so that air pocket acts as a little pressure cylinder, and it keeps water from circulating through. To fight that, Chevy did this. Right here, I don't know if you can see that. Right here is a bleeder valve, 8mm. Also, there's another bleeder valve right here. This should be for the heater core. Yeah, this is for your heater here. This goes underneath the intake and it runs back into the firewall. Now, what you want to do in order to bleed the system correctly, and maybe I'll do a little video on that because that's a little easier to do than try to install this whole thing with nothing to hold this camera. What you want to do on that is go ahead and get everything put back together, okay? You're going to want to start pouring water into the system until it's full. Now, there's going to be air in the system at this point. What you want to do is open up both bleeder valves and continue adding fluid. You'll get a little overflow out the mouth. This is what I'm saying, add water at this point. And what it'll do is it creates pressure and it starts pushing the air out of the system from the heater core lines. If your heater's not blowing hot after you do this, it's because you still have air somewhere in the system, and more than likely it's going to be in the heater core, especially if you had to fully drain your system. Now on this one, once you start pouring in, you'll see water start trickling out, and then it'll be a constant, steady little stream. At that point, you want to close that bleeder valve and then close the next one. Always make sure that water is coming out of both. If you only have one bleeder valve, just make sure it's coming out of the one. You're going to want to wait for a constant, steady stream. Usually there'll be little bubbles and little hiccups in the water, and that's just telling you air is still in the system and it's pushing it out. So don't overstress about it. It's not really hard. If you want to know if you did this correctly, your heater is key. It essentially tells you did it right. If you have air in the system, your engine's not going to cool correctly. You also won't get hot water into the heater core correctly. It just won't be circulating right. And you can damage your engine if you do not bleed the system correctly. A lot of people call it burping the system. And it's just because you're getting the air bubbles out. So until next time, you guys have any questions, comments, like I said, go ahead and hit me up. I've had a couple people already ask me a couple questions on some of my other videos, like E4ODs, what will and will not work. So just go ahead and drop me a line. Let me know. Thanks.